What did the committee have to say about Michigan being ahead of Michigan State, despite the Spartans having a head-to-head win just 2 weeks ago?
Well, Selection Committee Chair Gary Barta has a teleconference with reporters after he goes on TV with Reese every Tuesday night, and he was hammered about this question, and his response was simply that they think that Michigan is the more complete team right now, statistically. And he was pressed further, well, what about Oregon winning at Ohio State and honoring that head-to-head just a week ago and then not doing it this week? And his answer was the difference was Oregon and Ohio State both won while Michigan State lost. And so they had been talking about it last week. They talked about it more this week. And statistically speaking, they think Michigan is better. That's their response.
Though.
I personally can't explain it.
Yeah, that's so ridiculous. A team beats another team, but that team that beat you is not better than you, and I lost to you. That just makes absolutely no sense. So now you go to the statistics to try to justify based on numbers that Michigan is running up on other teams.
The loss happened 10 days ago.
Shocking.
Crazy.
Shocking. The committee does something that we can't figure out.
What if both of these teams went out, Heather? What happens from there?
Well, see, head-to-head does matter in the Big Ten conference standings. And so at the end of the day, that will come into play. But if you look at Ohio State, they still have to play Michigan State and Michigan. This is going to sort itself out. Somebody else is going to pick up a second loss, obviously. So what we see right now from the committee is that the Big Ten is in a good spot. Even Michigan State fans, chillax for a minute, okay? Because if you run the table and you win the Big Ten and finish as a one-loss conference champion, then you're in. A one-loss Big Ten champion is in, the way we look at the CFP rankings right now, regardless of the head-to-head.
Heather, what's the path for two Big Tens to actually compete in the CFP?
You know, I don't know that there is one, to be honest, because I think that ship sailed, because you look over in the West Division and you've got every team with at least 3 losses. So you're banking on one of those teams, 2 of those teams, to finish with 1 loss. And like I said, Ohio State has to play Michigan State and Michigan, so that's going to hand somebody a second loss there. And then Michigan and Michigan State still have to play Penn State and Maryland, and obviously Ohio State. So, like I said, I think it's going to sort itself out, and I don't think the 2 Big Ten teams is a realistic scenario. I think it's more staring at 2 SEC teams, because I can come up with more than one way to put 2 SEC teams in this thing.
Oklahoma's still sitting at 8. Are they being punished because they've had a couple tight games that they've had to kind of muster through lately here?
I think it's a combination of that, and more so, they don't have a signature win yet. But they have a chance to get one on Saturday against Baylor, which is a CFP top 25 team. And down the stretch, you have an opportunity on the road twice against CFP top 25 teams, Baylor, and in the regular season finale against Oklahoma State. And I promise the selection committee will think a win against Iowa State is respectable. They're above 500, even though they're not ranked right now. So I think their opportunities are ahead of them. And I think we could see Oklahoma jump, maybe even Michigan and Michigan State this week, if they beat Baylor soundly on the road.
But why do you look at this situation about signature wins, things of that nature, when Alabama took care of business against and they squeaked out that win against LSU, which is unranked, but their position doesn't change at all, and they were not punished because it's the SEC, Nick Saban, and Alabama, I'm assuming?
Look, we learned this week that the SEC, or the selection committee loves some Alabama, because if they were going to drop even 1 or 2 spots, this would have been the week. I mean, they did not look good. So they love them with, you know, bad hair, no makeup. This is a true relationship between the committee and Alabama. I mean, it seemed like that, you know, if it was going to happen, I thought it would have been this week. But assuming they win out and they meet Georgia in the SEC championship game, what we see from the committee now is a very realistic possibility that if Alabama loses a close game to Georgia, then they have a shot at finishing in the top 4, even with a second loss. But I think it has to be a close, instant classic thriller for them to be able to justify that.
True love. Saban wakes up in the morning, hair a mess, everything. They don't care, Heather. Was last night a good night, a bad night, or an indifferent night for Cincinnati?
I think it was a good night because what this shows is that the more upsets that happen, the wider the door opens for the Cincinnati Bearcats to the college football playoff. Look, they moved up to the number 5 spot as I thought they would by default, meaning because Michigan State lost. Nothing they did against Tulsa changed the selection committee's perception of them. Their strength of schedule is still over 100th in the country. So if they are to finish in the top 4, they still need dominoes to fall, in addition to obviously finishing undefeated, which isn't a guarantee. So in my mind, for Cincinnati to get in, they need to eliminate what I just talked about, which is the possibility of 2 SEC teams. They need a second loss by Oregon or a three-loss Utah to win the Pac-12, and then it certainly would help them to have Oklahoma stumble or to assuredly have a 2-loss Big 12 champion. I think 2 of those 3 things need to happen for Cincinnati to have a realistic shot.
So what's the path? Well, I guess you already answered this for 2 SEC teams to make the college football playoff. You think that Alabama is the key there, right?
Alabama is the key, but here's another one. If Alabama loses at Auburn, right, and Texas A&M runs the table, and they both finish with 2 losses, the Aggies with 2 losses are in the SEC championship. What if they win? They can win, knock off Georgia, then you have Texas A&M as your first 2-loss top 4 team, and you probably have Georgia in the playoff too.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.